guys, it's Caleb from Rockblocks. Today on the lift, we got a brand new Maverick R 4-seater. Today we'll be installing a skid plate. It's our new modular design for the Maverick R 4-seater, so let's go ahead and show you how to install it. Here we have the tools laid out that you'll need for install. To begin, we're going to use a T30 Torx on this impact here, and then we'll also jump over to this 10mm socket on this impact here. Then you'll also need a drill. Today we'll be using it to drill and tap out the rivets. Another way to remove the rivets will also be a hammer and chisel. And then another option, which is available for purchase online, would be a rivet remover. That's not fully necessary, as these other two methods work just as good. And then finally, you'll need a flathead screwdriver, or you can use the punch in your kit to tap the cores of the rivets back into the frame rail. Here we have the hardware kit laid out. We'll go ahead and put a breakdown of that on the screen right now. You should get a punch, a center aligning jig for your punch for a few of the holes on the machine if you need to use it. That's what that's there for. We come with your standard bit and tap to drill and tap the holes. We have an oversized bit and tap for if you have any issues. You can go to the oversized screws here. And then your main washers and hardware. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's head over to the vehicle and begin installing. Here we are at the bottom of the Mav XRS 4-seat. We're going to begin by removing the rivets, and then we're going to replace the four corners with the short screws to hold this skid plate in place. Keep in mind, this is only for those who are going to install over the factory skid plate. If you want to remove the skid plate entirely, you just remove it and remove all the rivets. But there are those four provided short screws to hold it in place while we begin installing over top, just to keep that alignment. Here we are, we're just removing the factory rivets, and just got to get up under there and clear those holes to make sure that we have space to drill and tap. Now that we've got all our rear holes tapped, we're going to go ahead and begin mounting our rear piece. Try that again. Now we're going to lift our tail skid into place. I like to get my screws started by hand into those nice threads we just tapped. That way we don't cross thread. There we go. That set up. Should be able to hold this with your knees if you're on the ground. On a lift, if you have a pole jack, that would be helpful. I'm just kind of holding it with one arm, getting the nose supported, and then I'll be able to let it go, take a breather. I'll work my way and put these ones in, because keep in mind we have the four short ones that are supporting the main skid. Be removing those and kind of using them for the next set and then for the next set. So once we get these in place, we can remove our other screws, short ones. So we'll go ahead and get this started. There we go. Now we can remove the four short screws that we put in to hold OEM skid. If you're not keeping your OEM skid, you can skip that and just keep mounting. So now that we've got those out of the way, we're just gonna finish up the rest of it. Now that we've finished up the rear, we've gotten those on, but they are not completely fully tight, or you may need to loosen them a little bit so that way you can adjust the skid plate if needed. and then come back, and when all the skid plate is on, then we'll do our final tightening by hand, just to make sure everything is snug. It's also a good idea, if you're doing it and putting it on for the first time, or even multiple times, is to have a Sharpie and just mark a bolt after you fully tightened it. So now let's move to the midsection and keep installing.
Here we are at the midsection. We're going to begin with these 2 points here and these 2 points here. We're going to remove the rivets and replace with those short screws that are provided in the kit to hold the main skid in place. Once you have it in place, you can continue to remove the rest of the rivets. If you are going to fully remove it, you'll notice that there's a couple holes that we've added here. Those are hidden rivets up underneath the side rails. You may need to remove the side rail rivets and the bolts that are holding it to get underneath to fully remove the stock skid if you're going to remove it. But we're going to install over top of it. And yeah, here's just us showing a close-up of where that rivet would be located.
Now that we've got all that done, we're going to take the skid plate and begin mounting our midsection. As you can see, we have these channels which are going to correspond with your drain holes, and then turn it into a smaller system of drain holes to maximize the way that it goes together. Begin mounting this. We're going to start with our center holes, as we have the outer holes supported with our short screws. We'll get that started by hand. We'll get this one started by hand. And you can see that the channel here has little notches in it. The mid skid is going to slide into those notches and align. So if it's having trouble aligning, you may need to loosen your rear section at that point to kind of get it to adjust. Now we're going to move up to the middle section on the mid skid plate. With those supported, we can remove the 4 screws we were using to hold our OEM skid, and then continue mounting at these other points. Now we're going to move to the rock rail on the side. It's going to lock into these points here with the tabs. So let's go ahead, grab our rock rail, get that set up, and then we'll begin mounting at these points here. Just gonna go up, lock into those joints, and then we're going to take some screws, secure that in place. With that in place, you can repeat those steps on the other side for the other rock rail. Now we're going to move to the main skid plate and then do the main rock rails on the front side here. Now that we're done with the midsection, we're going to move to the main skid plate. We're going to repeat those same steps, kind of that layering process, working our way from the rear of the vehicle to the front.
So we're going to start with these 2 points here. We're going to remove the rivets and then put our short screws in there to hold this in place. And then we're going to jump up to the nose, and we're going to remove the 2 from the plastic pieces here. And that's just going to be in line to secure that main section of the skid.
Now that we've got all our holes tapped, we're ready to grab our main skid and go ahead and put that up in place. We're just going to do it the same way we've been doing it, securing it with a few points, and then removing the short screws that we put in to secure the main skid plate. And then we'll move to our rock rail. Now got our main skid supported, so we can go ahead and remove the 4 screws that we put in to secure the OEM skid. You can keep these screws around for when you're servicing and need to get in there as well. And when you go to reinstall it, you can use it to support your OEM skid and then put your rock block skid back over top, repeating this same process when needing to service. And keep in mind, that is only for the guys that are installing our skid over the factory skid. If you remove your stock skid, this just becomes a straight bolt-on option. Very easy and just right back on. So now we're gonna finish up installing the rest of our screws in our main section here. With the main skid installed, we can now move to our rock rail, our main rock rail on the front side here. Now let's grab our front rock rail. We're gonna lock it into the tabs along the edge here, similar to what we did on the side here. And yeah, get that up, align our holes, and secure it. You'll also notice that on the side of your rock rail it has a pocket to where the side tab here is going to. That's to prevent this rock rail from coming out from that one when installed. Just kind of keeps everything locked in place. We're going to go ahead, get everything locked in and aligned. Like so. I'm going to start with this one here on the inside. Get that dialed in. I'm going to work our way up to the nose here. Putting in our screw there. Push that over. Align our rock rail and our edges here. And kind of tighten that to secure it. You need to push it forward. Close the gap. And then once we've got that tab up here worked into place, we can go ahead and secure it. On the rock rails, in particular, on this front section, closest to the front tire, you're going to notice that your rivet is hidden. With that being hidden, you can take your center punch template and put that up in there, center it in your punch, and you put that up in there, and then hold it fairly center, punch a hole, and what I like to do without removing the entire side is I can just drill a 1/2-inch hole using a 1/2-inch drill bit and open that up to expose the rivet behind it, and then we can just pop that rivet out. We're going to take our 1/2-inch drill and just make a big hole right here. It's going to expose the head of the rivet and create a nice hole that we can use to get to the frame and tap our new hole. With that exposed, we can see our rivet. Now we're just going to drill that out. There we go. Got our rivet out of the way. Got our hole exposed. Got our hole tapped. Now we can finish up, put the rest of our screws in this side. And with that final screw in place, that completes this side's rock rail. You can repeat those steps on the other side. Now, let's go ahead and jump to the nose. With all our holes tapped on this nose section here, we can grab our skid plate and begin mounting. We're going to align the grooves here. Skip the hole, just simply come back. Run your drill through it, and then run your tap. With all those screws tightened in the nose, that completes the skid plate installation. Hopefully you found these instructions helpful, and we'll catch you on the next one.